and other elected leaders throughout Southern California have complained about state and federal laws handcuffing the local governments and school districts with regards to what they can and cannot do, thereby restricting their ability to do the job for which they were elected. If elected, what would you propose the district do to address this challenge? And let's start with you, Mark.
Well, I think the greatest way that the state has made it difficult for localities, cities, counties, school districts, college districts, is when they don't honor the funding levels that you're entitled to. And when it comes to funding public K-14 education, K-12 and community college, the will of the people was spoken with Prop 98. And when the state talks about taking redevelopment funds from cities or highway users tax funds or sales tax, well, we in the school district system are also, our hands are tied also when we have to deal with, like David mentioned and Lindsay mentioned, $30 million in cuts over the past 2 years. We don't have that option to turn away 3,000 students, and that's a tragedy that happens at the community college system. But for us, we don't have that option to turn away students in the K-12 system. And so we had to operate with less, regardless. And that's why pre-planning works. Now, I'm not aware of anything specific in terms of a law that constrains us. We're governed by the head code. And as a local school board member, we're to implement that head code and manage it to the best of the needs of the local community. So the way I see it, I think it's the main issue, 1, 2, and 3 is budget. It's give us the money that we're entitled to.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, in addition to the Proposition 98, guaranteed funding for education in California, as Mark Toledo just mentioned, I also want to focus on at the federal level is NCLB, No Child Left Behind. Let me just share with you one thing. NCLB says all school districts, all children must be at proficiency level, at the grade level by year 2014, including special education students with learning disability, including English language learners. In other words, children sent to school without any English ability only have 1 year exemption. The second year, they need to be at the proficiency level. That is just not practical. So I think in addition to the funding issue, local governance is the principle for public schools. State government, federal government, they just have to let the local agencies do our jobs, because we're the ones who actually educate our children. And also less restrictions on the funding, for instance, a categorical funding. If the state can give us more flexibility and we can do a better job educating all of our school children. Thank you.
I've been fortunate enough to be elected by my peers. By my peers, I mean other school board members from throughout Los Angeles County to serve as a delegate assembly member for California School Board Association. That has given me the opportunity to sit on some state-level discussions about this very problem we're talking about. I have heard 2 presentations from 2 groups on how they would solve it, and one's from the Bay Area Council, which is advocating for a constitutional convention with a limited constitutional convention that would reform the way the governance of California is. While it has many pros to it, it also has some cons to it. can really be limited and not be brought into the entire Constitution. Who would make up the delegates? And only the legislature can call for that. It would have to be a vote by the people to call for that convention and for it to really take place. Another group was called California Forward. California Forward is a bipartisan effort that is trying to make changes through the voting process, through placing items on the ballot like they did in working to get the redistricting passed through California. They have other measures that are coming up that will redo. One of the main things is they want to move government closer to the people. They advocate that while people might not trust what's going on in Sacramento, they have great trust in the local government, so they'd like to see the local government have more responsibility. And what I think both of these efforts are going to take a long time. What can we do in the meantime? Currently, ABC gets money to run their programs through ADA, and also the county gets money for each of our students. I would like to take a long, hard look at that to ensure that that money is being used for ABC students. And perhaps us running those programs, so to ensure that the money that the county is getting is not being run in other parts of the county, but it's used solely for the ABC students.
Thank you, David. James?
The district has been managed the budget so far pretty well, but it does not guarantee the future prices if there is an additional budget cost, another 10 million or 15 million. If that's the case, we have to prepare means and method of how we can adjust that way. Then I will suggest the first thing, we have the state registrations, assemblymen and senators who can work with for the local budget situations. If there is any law has to be modified, then we have to work with them and ask them to change the regulations that will restrict the spending of our education. Like I say, we have 2/3 budgets are unrestricted, other 1/3 restricted budget. We can have them. The other matter we can possibly is if the budget crisis problem, all other neighborhood districts will have the same problem, then we will get together with the neighborhood district to have propositions to change our budget situation or regulation to make restricted use to the to unrestricted use. Plus, in the meantime, we could ask all the city or any other institution to help us for the budget crisis. That will give us some sort of solution. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a reminder, if you want to write some more questions,